According to a survey from the charity Relate, 83% of Gen Zers, that's people aged between 16 and 24, feel anxious about turning 30 and feel pressure to reach certain life milestones. So it begs the question, is it time for young people to grow up? Let's speak to Chris Akabusi, Olympian broadcaster and inspirational speaker, very inspiring to me, TV personality and broadcaster Precious Muir, and writer and research analyst Rakib Ehsan. Rakib, let me start with you. We've got 20-somethings worrying about turning 30. Get over yourself.
I think they're in a difficult environment, though, aren't they? I think even compared to when I was that sort of age, I think they're in a harsher economic climate. I think house prices, even in just the last few years, there's been a bit of a slowing down, but they've increased exponentially in recent years. So I think they're in a more of a high-pressure environment than even I was, and I'm 32 years.
And they've got to deal with social media.
I think so.
They can't get on the housing ladder, as you mentioned, and I suppose, in a way, life just feels like, they've been handed a bad deal, as it were.
No, absolutely. I think that a lot of the young people in our country, they may well have aspirations, but they perhaps feel that at the moment they're in an increasingly long, dark tunnel and they can't quite see the light at the end of it.
Yeah, too right. Well, Precious, you are a young person in your prime.
Yeah.
What do you think about how things are for young people? Because I'm sort of torn between the fact that they're a bit, from my estimation, slightly entitled and snowflakey.
Yeah.
On the other hand, they're paying exorbitant rents.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, mum and dad are living rent-free in a mortgage-free house.
There you go. I mean, there's so much pressure, obviously, with the social media aspect of it all. I mean, you're trying to keep up with all these girls on Instagram and they're trying to portray this kind of lifestyle. And at the end of the day, you're trying to aspire to things that possibly they don't even have. Remember, social media and society portray this thing where people have all these luxuries and most of it's fake. So people need to get out of that mindset and stay in your own lane and kind of progress when you can. I know the pressure of being young and succeeding at everything you do, but then we've also got to take the aspect of maybe you shouldn't get married at 25 and have 3 kids. Maybe wait a little while and see where your life goes. I mean, I did that. I am young and I will always be 25, but I am a bit older now and I married at 25. To somebody who was in New York, and I lived there for 10 years. So you can imagine the pressure that I was under, thinking at 25 I've got to be successful, I've got to be a great wife, I've got to have kids, and the pressure really, came down on me, and it was time to go. It was the end of a relationship after 3 years.
So you had a bit of an early midlife crisis.
I'm an only child, so I advanced very quickly in life. My parents were very, supportive, but they also said to me, you've got to progress and do things at an early age. I mean, I was signed to a model agency at 18 and flew to New York for 10 years. I mean, I literally grew up extremely fast. So now I'm kind of just taking a break and taking it easy a little bit because I really was on this accelerating career, trying to figure out, being an adult so quickly. And I feel like at 30, yes, we have these pressures and we have society telling us to grow up and be independent. But it's not necessarily the thing for everyone to do. I don't think being married, having kids, is the be-all, end-all of life.
Do young people have it tougher now, Chris?
I think the challenge that we have today in our multicultural society is the loss of rites of passage. So, like the Jewish religion has bar mitzvahs when they're 15. We used to get the key to the door when we were 18 and 21, and you'd go out, in my day, disco in and all that sort of stuff, Disco is plastic.
What, a bit of a boogie?
Yes, sir, I could boogie.
There you go.
Nice, upside down, Diana Ross.
So I just think that, the lack of the rites of passage. However, for me, the 30s the 20s flew by. I was in headspin before I'm 35.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the challenges that young people may have is not having these focus-oriented things to achieve. I was a soldier, I was a sportsman, I was a husband, I was a father, and I was actually getting stuff done. And I can assure you...
But that's the thing, I think when you overdo it and you overthink stuff, you actually forget to live.
But that was living. Life happens while you're thinking about other stuff. It happens. Before I knew it, I was 35.
But you just said that 20s flew by.
Yeah, it did.
But maybe if you just took a step back, you actually might...
Well, no, I was too busy winning medals and running around and jumping up and
you're a champion. Everyone's going to achieve that.
No, but not but what I'm trying to say is busy getting on with my life and my career.
Yeah. But I feel like with the mental state is different. I feel like when we were growing up, obviously you're a bit older than me, but
way older than you, yeah.
I think the mental state is that the pressure. I mean, we have now a different type of pressure for the mental state. Mm-hmm. I think when I was growing up, there was requirements, but the mental state wasn't as much as now. The younger generation deal with disorders of all kinds.
Yeah.
Now,
you name it, you claim it.
I'll say one thing. I think that perhaps in recent times we've seen, for example, materialistic individualism really take root in society.
It's crazy.
And those sort of more social bonds have been lost. They've been eroded. So I think that what Precious said, and I think what Chris said, is basically, if you actually focus on yourself, set goals for yourself. Don't forget about what people are posting on Instagram.
Exactly.
Because a lot of what they're posting isn't actually rooted in reality to begin with. Focus on
the highlights of their life.
I think more is set practical goals for yourself, give yourself that sense of direction, and that can actually increase your well-being in the longer term.
I think that's a brilliant shout. Brilliant shout from Rakib and from Precious. If you're young and you're watching, ditch that smartphone. It's not doing you any good.